HR issues can kill you. One complaint against your company can turn your world upside down. And you spend way too much time dealing with HR when you should be spending your time on making a profit. You should talk to Bambee. With Bambee, get access to your own dedicated US-based HR manager starting at just $99 per month. They get to know you and your business while providing HR expertise and the personal touch you need and want. They're available by phone, email, and real-time chat, so onboarding and terminations run smoothly. Team members reach peak performance, and your business stays compliant with changing HR regulations. And with Bambee's HR Autopilot, you'll automate important HR practices like setting policies, training, and feedback. HR managers can easily cost $80,000 a year, but Bambee starts at $99 per month. Schedule your free conversation today to see how much Bambee can take off your plate. Go to Bambee.com right now and type in Accelerate under podcast when you sign up. It'll really help the show. Spelled BAM, BEE.com. Bambee.com. Type in Accelerate.
Hey guys, this is Gabby Douglas. If you have an active lifestyle like me, hydration is key. That's why I love the Hydration Watermelon Smoothie from Smoothie King. Blended with whole fruits, coconut water, and more electrolytes than some of the leading sports drinks. Hydration Watermelon is the cleaner way to hydrate, with no artificial colors, flavors, or preservatives. So you can recover and perform at your peak ability during the summer heat. Order online or through the app for pickup or delivery. Smoothie King, rule the day.
Welcome to Accelerate Your Business Growth with your host, Diane Helbig. Diane is a leading small business development and leadership coach, author, and speaker who is passionate about sharing valuable ideas, tips, and techniques with business professionals worldwide. Diane brings you the world's experts and gurus in all things business, whether it's sales, structure, social media, planning, or plateauing. Guests bring their expertise and energy to each episode. When growing your business is your focus, Accelerate Your Business Growth is the show to listen to. Got a topic or guest suggestion? Let Diane know. The goal is to make sure you have the information you need to move your business forward. Thanks for joining us. Settle in and enjoy.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. Today's podcast is sponsored by Audible.com. And while you probably are aware of Audible.com because of the thousands of titles of audiobooks that they have, you may not know all the other content that is available to you. So we're offering you a free trial if you go to audibletrial.com/businessgrowth, and you can explore for yourself. Find all sorts of content out there and see what suits you. Over the years, this podcast has continued to be recognized as a great resource for small business owners, sales professionals, business leaders, you name it, if it's in the business sphere. And that's because of the guests. These are folks who have expertise in particular areas of business. And they join me to have a conversation where they share that expertise with all of you. That way you get the information you need so you can do better things in your business. Today is no exception. My guest today is Devin Miller. Helping Fortune 100 clients with their intellectual property, Devin realized that there weren't many good intellectual property legal resources for startups and small businesses. As an entrepreneur himself, he wanted to help other small business owners learn about patents, trademarks, and copyrights so they can build value into their businesses and protect their assets. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Thanks so much for joining me, Devin.
Oh, my pleasure. Happy to be on.
Glad to have you. So talk to me some about how a business goes about protecting their brand or, an invention.
Yeah, so maybe it's easiest I'll give you this really quick overview is kind of the different areas that you can go about protecting your startup or small business or any business. So if you look at it, if you hear people kind of refer to it, there's kind of an umbrella term that would be intellectual property that kind of, if you want to refer to the big, the big topic or that, it would be intellectual property. And then underneath that, you basically have what are patents, trademarks, and copyrights, which are then what you use to protect things. So patents are going to go towards anything that's an invention. So if you're creating it, it has a functionality, it's an invention, it's a product, it's software, anything that, does something, that's going to be under patents. Trademarks are going to be more for a brand. So if you think about anything that's building your brand, whether it's a logo, whether it's a product name or a company name or a catchphrase, so anything that's basically brand related is going to fall under trademarks. And then copyrights are going to be more for creative work. So if it's a book or a video or a picture or something that's more on the creative nature that you're creating, then it's going to kind of copyright. So those are kind of the three areas that you can protect or protect or grow or protect your business depending on which one. And a lot of times you'll have, you'll fall under multiple of those verticals, but those are kind of the main areas that you'd use to protect your brand or protect your business.
Okay, that's great. Okay, so let's sort of break it down. So talk to me some about why patents are so important for protecting an invention.
Yeah, so there's a few reasons, and I always joke that, if you ask an attorney a question, the way you know if they're a good attorney or not is whether or not they tell you the answer is it depends, because that's how almost all attorneys answer a question. But I'll give you a better answer than it depends. So when I look at patents, and you can, it's always for protection, there's really a few different strategies that companies are going to look at for why they may want a patent or why that may be useful. And so one is obviously to protect an invention. So if you think of, hey, I'm putting in a whole lot of blood, sweat, and tears and money to develop a product or to come up with something, and I want to be able to protect it. Meaning I don't want somebody just to take all my hard work and then knock it off or copy it and be able to say, thanks for all that time and effort. Now I'm going to, do it faster, cheaper, better, and not have to spare the expense of all the development. That's where one reason you get a patent is in order to protect that work. It becomes an actual asset or right that then you can go and enforce and stop others from knocking off or copying all of your idea and your invention with that. The other one is also more on, it's an actual asset that's kind of investable that, you can use that as an asset of the company. So if you think of, if you're going out to an angel capital or a venture capital or an angel investor, venture capital, or someone that you're trying to you can sometimes even use them as collateral for a loan, but you're actually a way to capture a lot of the asset of your company. Meaning if a lot of it is kind of in your head or development and R&D and, the end product is great, but there's a lot of time and effort and research, that's one way that you can actually capture that as an asset of your company, that then you can get an valuation increase or valuation bump for what you're trying to do. So those are generally, if you're looking at why you'd want a patent and what the motivations are, is one is either to protect and capture all the time and effort and money you go into research, and the other is to build as an asset to the company.
Okay. And how complicated is it to do, and what sort of investments should someone expect to have to make?
Yeah, so complicated, I guess there'd be complicated from two different aspects, right? One would be the customer, the person, the client that was doing or wanting to engage an attorney versus the attorney, and, complicated on that end, so that, can split it up. If you're to do it completely on your own, generally I recommend it's complicated enough that I would say, hey, if you don't have the time or ability to engage an attorney, I would probably spend the time, money, and efforts other places in the business rather than try and do it yourself, because it almost gives you a false sense of security. You think you have something filed. It doesn't really give you much coverage. And so it gives you kind of that false security blanket. But if you say, hey, okay, I'm not doing it on my own, but I'm going to engage an attorney, then it's usually a much more painless process, so to speak. So give you an example kind of what we do, and other firms do it to different degrees or in various ways, is that, engage an attorney, say, hey, I need a patent. Then you're going to fill out a form. We kind of walk you through, here are the details, what we need, what the information. And so you can say, hey, what's the previous, what have others done? What are you doing? What makes you unique? And it kind of walks you through it. And then from there, the attorneys will schedule kind of an hour call. And so then you can kind of go through the details of your invention, how it works, clarifying things, getting additional details. And then from that point, the attorney takes the information you already gave them in the call and prepares a draft for it. You review it, and then it can be filed. So in that sense, from the complexity from someone engaging us or engaging an attorney, it's not not too hard. And usually if you get a good attorney, they'll walk you through it in a pretty simple method. Cost-wise, you have kind of two different options when you're looking at patents. So you can do what's called a provisional patent application and a non-provisional patent application. So short answer is provisional patent application, informal patent application what it does is it acts as a placeholder for a year. You establish your date of invention, and then it gives you a year time frame to decide whether or not you want to invest in a full patent application or not. That one's if you're to go up our fees, and they can range our flat fee, we do flat fees of $1,700, but it ranges anywhere from $1,500 up to $3,000 or $4,000, depending on if you're going to a large law firm, small law firm, Silicon Valley law firm, or where they go. And then beyond the provisional, then you go to a full patent application, and that one's going to be our flat fee would be $5,500. And that one can range from on the low end, 5,000, on the top end, it can be 10,000. So they have a variability, again, depending on the different firms you go to and their pricing structure. So I think that answers your question.
Yeah, it did. That's great. So how does, let's talk about a startup for a minute. They have an invention, they have a great idea. How do they decide whether to invest in a patent or a trademark? Are there guidelines?
It's going to be business by business. And the reason I say that, every business is different, right? And where I'd really look at it is, where is the value of your business? Meaning, if you were building a company where you're going to be centered around a brand. So you think about Coca-Cola or Pepsi or Nike or, Starbucks. Really what their products are, there's a little bit of difference, but it's much more about the brand, right? They don't have a patent, or they don't have they may have a little bit of their secret sauce, but really you're buying into a lot of the brand. You go to Starbucks because they're going to give you a good cup of coffee, but you can get coffee at a lot of different places, right? So if you're saying, hey, our value as a company is really locked into our brand, then that's where I'd put your money. Vice versa, let's say you're a technology startup or technology business, and hey, we're developing the next great iPhone or the next great, Tesla car or whatever that is, but something that's, more related to a product, and you're going to be putting in a lot of R&D and development and time to do that, and you want to protect that, then you go to more towards the patent. So it kind of depends on, I would say, wherever you see your value of the company and where you're building it, that's where you want to put your money and time and effort to protect it. And sometimes it's both. You think of Apple as a company. They certainly have a big brand and very recognizable, and they're also much, having into the technology. And so, they invest in both trademarks for their brand as well as patents for all of their products. So it's not that they're necessarily exclusive, but if you're saying, where do I start or where do I go, figure out where your value, the most value for your company is, and start there.
Got it. Okay. So it feels like, some of these things can, the investment can be pretty high. So how do small businesses compete with big businesses when big businesses can afford to do all these things, like Apple, can afford to do these things constantly?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm a broken record in the sense I keep saying it depends, and I know that goes to turn. Okay. But I mean, so there's a few different ways you can compete with big companies, right? One is that, sometimes being a big company certainly provides you with resources and ability to have big marketing power and brand and whatnot, but it also is a bit of a handcuff in the sense that you don't iterate as quickly. Coming up with something, you have, the low-level engineers, they go to their manager, and then they pitch an idea, then the managers go up to their next one, and then they go up to the CEO, and you have enough layers that just by the nature of the size of the company, just because they are a big company, it can take a long time to iterate and to innovate and adapt to the marketplace. Whereas I think a lot of times small and startups and small businesses can iterate and adapt quicker, meaning one of their best assets is that they can see what that's going on in the marketplace and adjust much more quickly based on what they need to do. So I think one just general sense, one way that they can keep ahead of the bigger companies is by iterating and being, staying out ahead of it. I think another one is, and these are I'll get to a couple of the IP stuff, but even just in general, I think the authenticity is oftentimes better with smaller businesses and companies. They can tell a story, why you'd want to support them, why their brand matters. What are they doing it with a mission? Are they doing it with a cause? Are they a mom and pop shop that's offering something unique or cool, or, those type of things? It's hard to replicate that with big businesses. You don't quite get the tear jerking, hey, I want to help out this, donate to their cause. If it's Apple and that they have billions of dollars in the bank, not kind of the same thing. So I think those are a couple kind of practical things. As far as patents and patents and trademarks, if you're to go into more of those, I think that you have to be judicious in what you're going after. I mean, you don't have an unlimited budget. You can't go after everything, at least not up front. As you build and hopefully can become a bigger company, you incorporate more of that into your strategy. But then you have to say, we have a strategy. This is what we need to protect. This is our most value. Let's make that our focus for now. And, there's a whole lot of other things we'd like to invest in and like to do. We can't do that now. So let's just build that into our 5-year roadmap. Right now, we're going to go, this is all we can do. This is what we have the time, budget, appetite, whatever for. So let's go after those and kind of build it into there. So I think those are a few kind of different ways that you can start to compete with bigger businesses. The other one that I always, talk about is every big business has a competitor, right? So you think of Apple has Samsung, you think of Starbucks has Dunkin' Donuts, or whichever one you want to go, but everybody, there's very seldom a company that doesn't have any competitors. And if they don't, very soon they will. And so some of the other times, if you're a startup or a small business and you're saying, hey, we have patents, we have trademarks, but in reality, the big businesses, they can just bleed us dry. They can outspend us and everything else. Sometimes you can build a better mousetrap and then you go to the competitor. So let's say, take Apple versus Samsung. Maybe Apple ripped you off or, does something very close and you have a patent or a trademark or a brand or those type of things. They go over to Samsung and say, hey, you want a competitive advantage? Why don't you acquire us? Why don't you take a license from us or buy us out type of a thing? And that gives Samsung, the competitor to Apple, a competitive advantage. So I think that there's different strategies that can keep you ahead in the marketplace, even against what would be bigger companies.
Oh, I think that makes a ton of sense. And I agree, small businesses are more nimble, so they can iterate much faster, which is great. I am going to take a quick sponsor break, and then I have some more questions for you. Accelerate Your Business Growth podcast is happy to be sponsored by Audible.com. Audible.com, we know, has thousands of audiobook titles that you can choose from, but they also have so much other content. They have Audible originals, podcasts, guided meditations, news. It's unbelievable. And so there's a lot of different things that you can find that you like. I can tell you personally, the guided meditations are something that I find tremendously valuable all the time, but especially these days. So go ahead and sign up for the free trial at audibletrial.com/businessgrowth and explore. Check it out for yourself. See what you can find that resonates with you. Today we're speaking with Devin Miller about protecting your business assets. So what would you say are some of the biggest mistakes businesses make with patents or trademarks?
Yeah, so I'm going to flip it and I'll go with trademarks first because that's a quicker, easier answer. Well, I guess maybe it's a quicker and easier answer. Trademarks, the biggest or one of the biggest mistakes, and there may be a few, but probably the biggest one is that a lot of times, especially as a startup or a small business, or as you're growing, you're starting out, you don't really think about your brand much. Meaning you start out and you say, oh, we're just going to be a local brand, or, we're going to start a small, mom and pop shop or something like that, or we're just going to sell this as a side hustle and online, it just is a supplemental income. And then it starts to grow and it starts to become bigger and you start to get, build a brand. And then you start to see knockoffs come along, right? And they'll name it the same thing or a similar name or confusing name. And, what they don't do is by the time you're already big enough, then you're getting those knockoffs, a lot of times you're already too late to get your trademark, meaning trademarks are generally, and patents are the same way. The first person to file for a name, for a name of a product or name of a company or anything, is generally the one that gets it. And so if you wait too long and then other people start to like your brand and start to knock it off or start to like it, they may actually, if they file before you, they can box you out of using your own, with some exceptions, but generally they can box you out of using a lot of times your own brand and your own name that you put in a lot of time, money, and effort to build. So, the sense I get, on the front end is it's an investment, and you have to be, you only have so much budget and so much things to do, but you do want to be, that's the point that a lot of people jump over, is they don't think about that until it's almost too late, as to when people are already knocking it off or otherwise competitors, and then they're trying to go back and scramble to do it, which is significantly harder than if you do it as you build a company on the front end. So that's one on the trademark. Patents are, and that was kind of the same thing on the patents, in the sense that, it's a first to file system. So whoever files on an invention or patent first is generally deemed to be the first inventor and the first award. So if you wait to patent things too long, somebody else say, hey, that's a great idea, or I'm going to do something similar to it. Or if it's just a competitive landscape. So you think, hey, I'm in the tech software industry, whatever, and there's a whole bunch of people all making similar products, and you wait too long to patent it, somebody else patents it before you, or the same or similar idea, you can then lose the rights to what you've already put in a lot of effort on. One other thought on patents as well is, with patents, there's a time clock that starts ticking anytime you put things out into the public. So you think of, if I put this as out for sale or online, or, in a store, or you do a seminar, or you do pitching, or you do a competition, or anything that where you're exposing it to the public, then you basically start a 1 year time clock ticking from the first time you put it out in the public. And so you have 1 year from the time your invention originally is exposed to the public within which to file a patent on. If you don't file a patent within that year, then it becomes what's public domain, or anybody can use it, and it's open to the public, and it's no longer able to secure your rights. So that's one of the issues sometimes you'll have, that people don't realize, oh yeah, I need to go back, I should probably get a patent on this, but it's 1.5 years or 2 years or whatever down the road. And now you're trying to scramble and say, okay, what can we do here? And it makes it much more difficult if there's anything we can do there, because you've missed that window.
Wow. God, I didn't know that. Wow. And that like, I have people say to me, well, I have this idea and I would do a pitch competition, but I'm afraid of letting other people know about it until I've actually made it into a thing, because they're afraid people are going to take the idea.
Yeah. And I mean, that's almost the opposite end, right? Where now you're worried that even before you put it out there, and that is a problem, right? Because first to file, if somebody, you go out and put in a pitch competition, say, hey, that's a great idea, I'm going to go do that and build a company around it, and they file on a patent first, that is an issue that you can legitimately face. But usually what I would say is, before you put it out in the public, I mentioned a little bit ago on a provisional patent application, if you're saying, hey, we don't have this fully finished, we don't have it exactly how we want for our end product, but we are going to start pitching it to, whether, let's say, a crowdfunding, or we're going to go out to venture capital and angel investors, or a pitch competition, or we're going to put out a website to see if we can get a newsletter. All those things, I would do a provisional patent application. It's relatively cheap, and I get $1,700 or $2,000 of that dollars is still a good amount of money, and I'm not, downplaying that, but versus the drawback,
Right.
if you're going to put in a lot of time and effort and try and build something around it, you're probably worth at least doing that, so you can, give that 1 year time frame that you can decide whether or not to go for a full patent application.
Yeah, right. I think that is a great point. Okay. And so at what point in the process should someone engage an attorney, in the patent or the trademark process?
The short answer is as early as possible. I mean, that's going to be your real answer. I mean, but I get, so one thing that I've done, and different with our firm is we do what's a free strategy session. So, and because what I found is a lot of times, and rightly so, people don't want to go and engage an attorney because they feel like as soon as they walk through the door, you're going to start getting charged, and it's going to be an hourly billing, and it's going to be expensive even to ask a question. You ask a 5-minute question, and the attorney bills you for an hour. And so, one thing I would do is I would engage attorneys earlier in the process, even if it's just, hey, we still don't think we're building this. We don't have, we're not going to be building this for another 3 or 4 months, or we're not going to get to a point where we're going to want to do something with it. I would still just engage the attorney earlier so that you can get a strategy. Okay, this may be 3 or 4 months out, but let's at least have a strategy as to, as we build this, as we invest, we know when we hit this point, we're going to want to re-engage them. We know the things that we're going to need to look out for, the things to consider, all of those. And so if it was me, I'd find an attorney, a good one, not just a fly-by-night one, but a good one that's willing to sit down with you, do a strategy session or something like we do, that offers that as an ability to sit down, get a strategy, and then, go from there. And so that way you have it built in. If you already passed that point and don't have that, then if you're saying, hey, that's a great idea, I don't have an attorney, I don't have one that I can trust, or I don't want to pay for it because I can't find one that will do a strategy session, then I would do it. If you're on the patent side, if you're getting to a point on an invention that you can describe it in a level of detail that somebody in that same industry can understand it and could replicate it, you've reached the point that you want to get a patent on it. So if you're to think of, I'll take software as an example. Let's say you got your software product. While you haven't fully created it, haven't fully, made it, you've at least outlined it, or you understand it in your head, or you've written it out, that you could explain it to someone and they say, okay, I get that. I could go and create that if I had the time, time, money, and resources. Then that's about the time you'd want to do a patent. Trademarks, if I'm getting to the point that I feel like, you're beyond the mom and pop shop, you're actually getting some people that are interested, or the brand's building momentum, or you're getting followers, you're getting people that are buying it outside of your, little geographic location, that's probably the side on the trademark. So early as possible. If not, then that's when I would do it.
Got it. Okay. That's really helpful. And so that, now talk to me about how someone looks for, how they pick a good attorney. Like, what are the kinds of questions they should ask, or how do they know if they're getting someone who's really going to be valuable?
More expensive, the better. Isn't that if you pay more, you're always going to get the value, right?
Not necessarily.
No. I think that's not generally the case. And the more often than not, you're paying for the name of the law firm as opposed to the value you're getting. But, I always look at it, and it's probably more ubiquitous across any industry, not just specific to the legal one, is looking for someone that almost has the heart of a teacher. And when I say that, it's, someone that's willing to sit down with you and actually explain what this is, why you need it, if you need it, why you would need it, how this would play in. And that's what I would look for. Because, most attorneys, if you find them, they'll do a decent job or a good job on the actual legal work. They're trained, and if they've made it in the industry, if they're at a firm, or they're doing it, they have clients and that they've made it, they'll do a decent job. But really, I think what distinguishes is someone that's going to not just do a good job and then you have no idea what they're doing, but they're sending you an invoice, but they actually explain, this is what's going on, this is why you need to do it, or what decisions you may think, or why you consider it. And if they actually sit down to take a few minutes to teach you those things or explain it, I think that's where I would look for a good attorney. So if you're going into somebody's office and they sit down for 5 minutes, say, yeah, this is what you need, and this is how much you need to pay us. And you walk out and you say, I still don't really know why I need that or what's going on. I just know that I need a patent. Probably not a good thing to do, to go and spend a whole bunch of money on. But if you sit down and they take 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, they walk you through, here's what a patent is, here's what the process is, this is what you may want to think about. Hey, you may be too early, or hey, you're a little late, and let's figure out what we can do to help you out. And they sit down and actually explain. That's where I think that you're going to distinguish between what maybe is an okay attorney, or and versus a great attorney.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I think that makes a lot of sense, because I think that's one of people's fears. Is that they're gonna sort of turn it over, and they're gonna be charged a whole lot of money and not really understand what's going on in the process, and then that just creates that not so great feeling that nobody really wants in an engagement like that.
Yeah, I mean, and if I were to take it another industry that people would get it, when you take in your car and you need something fixed, everybody, you can always tell that the guy's like, oh, we've got these 20 things that are broken with your car and it's going to cost you a whole bunch of money. And you just kind of feel like, well, I don't even know what I'm fixing or why I need it, but he tells me all these things are broken. I need to fix it. And you're saying, or versus you go into the auto mechanic and they say, hey, your car is broken and you really just need to fix this. And this is why it's not working. And this is what, the part is. And this is how much our labor is going to cost. And this is, about how long it should take. You get two different experiences and they may both do a good job in the end, but one, a whole lot more what's going on and you can actually make an educated decision versus the other, you're just having to kind of trust that they'll do a good job.
Yeah. It's a great example because that happens all the time. And it is really about being able to make an educated decision, and the attorney should want you to have that level of knowledge and confidence, because otherwise the whole relationship ends up being difficult for everybody.
Yeah. And I think, and if I were to be fair to attorneys, most attorneys, they work at a firm, they have billable hours. They're trying to, not, they got pressures in order to do it. So I think, the one thing if I were to defend attorneys, and that's not usually what I'll do, is you have to be sensitive to their time. So if they say, hey, we'll do a free 30-minute strategy session, we're willing to sit down with you. Don't ask, don't get or try and take 2 hours of their time because, their time is still valuable and they're trying to make a living. So be sensitive to their time in the sense that they're trying to be, give you good guidance, be a good attorney and be helpful, but don't take advantage of it because then you're become the client that nobody wants because you make it so that they'll lose money every time they ever do anything for you because you take 5 hours to do a 1 hour job, that type of thing. So there is a balance, but I think that's generally the extreme of it, but there's occasion that you'll just, be cognizant of that.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a very good point. Okay. So, well, I have to tell you, Devin, that I really appreciate this information. I think this is one of those topics that makes people's heads hurt, so I appreciate you shining some light on it and making it easier to understand.
Sure.
Will you tell the listeners, how they can find you and anything you've got going on you think they should know?
Yeah, so a few ways that they can connect up or reach out. So one, always easiest is the website, right? So if you go to milleripl.com, so MILLER, I as in igloo, P as in Papa, L as in law, or intellectual property law, IPL.com. That one has a lot of resources. You can find a lot of the information on our costs and that. You can also, right there on the website, schedule a free strategy session. So, kind of mention if they have questions, if you don't know if you need anything or you just want to sit down and get a strategy together, they can schedule it right there on the website. Email is easy too. They're welcome to email me, and that's just at Devin, DEVIN at milleripl.com. And then the last one, they're welcome to either call or text me. I'm always pretty available and responsive, and that's at 801-829-8446. So those are usually the best ways to reach out to me or connect up, and I'm happy to answer any questions or help out the community.
That's great. Thank you. And listeners, thank you. Give this thought and reach out if you've got questions because you don't want to wait and then find out that it was too late. I'd also like to thank our sponsor, Audible.com. Please go to audibletrial.com/businessgrowth to sign up for a free trial and then go exploring and see all of the incredible content that is available for your listening pleasure. As always, continue to prosper and be curious. And until we meet again on another episode of Accelerate Your Business Growth, goodbye and good day.
Me, but also you. The Pharaoh fast forwards his favorite foreign film, Powder Donut. Okay, what's my line?
The only line I see here on the script is get options based on your budget with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive.
Oh man, that's a tongue twister, huh? I'm sorry, I'm gonna need a few more minutes. Bulbous Walrus, the Bulbous Walrus.
The Name Your Price tool, only from Progressive.
The owl ran afoul of the comatose coxswain.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Me, but also you. The Pharaoh fast forwards his favorite foreign film, Powder Donut. Okay, what's my line?
The only line I see here on the script is get options based on your budget with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive.
Oh man, that's a tongue twister, huh? I'm sorry, I'm gonna need a few more minutes. Bulbous Walrus, the Bulbous Walrus.
The Name Your Price tool, only from Progressive.
The owl ran afoul of the comatose coxswain.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Welcome to Don't Retire, Graduate, the podcast that asks you what you want to be when you grow up so you can graduate into retirement with a purpose and a passion, whether you're 25, 85, or any age in between. Gain actionable financial and mindset tips from your favorite authors, podcasters, and influencers to help you reach that exciting next chapter. Listen now and start building your path to financial freedom and reframing what retirement can mean to you. This is your host, Eric Brotman, reminding you, don't retire, graduate.